Today we'll be taking a closer look at Crowfall. Crowfall is an upcoming massively multiplayer online RPG that is trying to stand out from the crowd by including elements from traditional strategy games. It is also adopting a sandbox design, which in the MMO genre means there's going to be a heavy focus on fighting other players. In fact, Crowfall is a self-titled throne war simulator, sort of like Game of Thrones. How are they going to achieve all this? By splitting the game into two separate realms. First, you have the campaign worlds. You can imagine these as the standalone strategy or war game where the conflict in this game occurs. You join a campaign from a lobby-based list when you start playing, and each campaign world will have its own rules and requirements before a guild or faction wins that game. The campaign you select can last several months, or maybe even a year. Players will see a lot of variety in these campaigns that will help keep the gameplay new and fresh after every campaign. Participation will reward you with the spoils of war that you can bring back to your Eternal Kingdom. This is the section of the game that is permanent and separate from the campaign worlds. The Eternal Kingdoms feature a modifiable game world that is more like a traditional MMO, in that it cannot end. However, your Eternal Kingdom is completely under your control. You can build towns or castles and even design the landscape with the spoils you took back from the campaign. Alternatively, you can choose to live in another player's Eternal Kingdom as a loyal vassal. You can expect some of these kingdoms to get quite large and impressive. It will basically function as a social hub where you can show off your accomplishments or creativity. The benefit of splitting the campaign worlds and the persistent world is that no guild can dominate a server forever. This is a very common problem in sandbox MMOs. Imagine being stuck in a really bad Overwatch match, except the only way to leave is to stop playing the game altogether. Crowfall's solution to this is the semi-permanent campaign world. If your campaign sucks, you shouldn't stress too much, as it will end soon. Next, let's take a look at some of the classes and gameplay systems. In Crowfall, you can choose from 11 familiar classes and some unique ones too. More common classes include the Knight, the Ranger, Druid, Cleric, Champion, Templar, and Assassin. Other more novel classes include the Confessor, which practices the art of pyromancy, the Frostweaver, who masters the art of cryomancy, that's ice magic, the Duelist, and a violent pit fighter class called the Myrmidon. The developers attempt to make the standard classes that we all know feel brand new with interesting skill sets. For example, the Assassin is a very run-of-the-mill class. However, in addition to the standard rogue toolkit, this class will have a set of wings that improve mobility by unlocking double jump and slow fall. You can then further customize these base classes by equipping runestones, or disciplines. These will be craftable items that, once equipped, will give your class further specialization or increased power. For balance purposes, each class can equip different amounts of disciplines. Additionally, not all disciplines are meant to be perfectly balanced, and developers will be constantly releasing new ones. This should keep your class fresh and interesting no matter how long you play it. There are also a variety of races to choose from. These include human, half-elf, wood elf, Nithari, which seem pretty human-like, high elf, half-giant, fae, stoneborn, elkin, minotaur, centaur, and a guinea pig-inspired looking guy that I'll attempt to pronounce Guinnessian? Unlike traditional MMOs, Crowfall doesn't feature your typical leveling system. Players' skills advance passively, while offline, which means there's no requirement to do grindy activities in order to increase your skills. Yay! The skills are arranged in a tree system and are divided into two main types of skills, General and Class. As of now, there are 600 skills you can learn, but they plan to have upwards of 1,500 skills available as more features come online. In addition to the large amount of combat available for players of Crowfall, crafting is also a main focus. In fact, crafting is a vital aspect of Crowfall, as the best items you can obtain are going to be crafted by other players. The developers intend for a very player-driven economy in Crowfall. Unlike most MMOs, players can choose to be a primary crafter by building up their reputation, amassing wealth, and supplying guild members during campaigns. This is a very exciting aspect of Crowfall. Materials for crafting weapons and armor can be found in both the campaign worlds as well as the Eternal Kingdom. As you'd expect, greater risk is taken in the campaign worlds, and thus higher quality materials can be found there. Even if you're not excited about fighting other players, there is still a need for you here in the Crowfall universe. The developers. So who's making the game? Artcraft Entertainment is an independent game developer founded by J. Todd Coleman, the creative director of Shadowbane, and Gordon Walton, the executive producer of games including Ultima Online, Star Wars The Old Republic, and Sims Online. Combined, they've put together a small but well-experienced team of engineers, designers, and programmers to make this game a reality. So as of now, the game has acquired a large amount of funding, coming to a little over $12 million. Crowfall has been crowdfunded by 42,000 people for a total of $3.6 million. The game's Kickstarter campaign started February 2015, and their $800,000 goal was met in only 3 days. Needless to say, gamers are really excited about this MMO. Since then, crowdfunding has continued to be a big success. If you want to get in on the action, you can still buy into the early access of the game on the Crowfall website, where you can also find a current playtest schedule. Through this playtest, Crowfall developers have been actively listening to the constructive criticism that players have to offer. The minimum you need to pay to gain access to the early testing is $69. Current test phases are usually open for the weekends, but they're hoping to have a 24/7 test server up and running pretty shortly. Instead of having one huge release date, Crowfall developers have decided to do a soft launch, in which they will be persistently adding and improving features instead of making us wait for the whole thing to be completely polished before they give us access. Right now, the developers say they are on track to have this soft launch ready by the end of 2017. The fact they are currently moving to 24/7 testing servers bodes well for that goal. However, many current players have expressed skepticism to this, as several of the game's features have been pushed back from their initial planned date. So based on what we've seen and read, the game has a lot of momentum, and the developers are very involved within the community. The developers release lots of videos and updates regarding character design and future content. They seem to be on track to release a soft launch this year, as they've planned, and are continuing to expand their beta testing. Crowfall seems to have some pretty positive reviews compared to most games coming out of the crowdfunding scene. On mmorpg.com, Crowfall has received a hype rating of 7.61, with many users expressing their anticipation towards Crowfall's release. This hype score ranks Crowfall as number 6 on the website's top voted games list. We're personally very excited to get our hands on this game. If you are an MMORPG player, chances are you have already heard about it and are excited too. Crowfall is one of the reasons why the 2017-2018 release cycle is a great year to be an MMO gamer. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to see what other games have us talking. If you have suggestions for what we should look at next, let us know in the comments.